Meeting, it is 6 o'clock. Anne's on Zoom. Rocco, is so excited you're here in the room.
Yeah.
I think you and Ann are the same person, right? You can't be in the same room at the same time.
Right, I know, right? It's either one of the two.
Myself, Julianne, Chris Barrett, Annie, Tanya, Ally, and this may be Ali. And
Hi, Marine.
Green. So we'll call the meeting to order. Do we have anyone on the public who'd like to speak?
I have Julie S. Hey, Julie, okay, there you go.
Hi, can you see
Thank
me?
you.
Yep.
Yes,
We can.
Thanks so much. Julie Scott, Central Street. Dynamic downtown design requires looking forward without forgetting what the good things we already have. Wakefield's character is informed by significant historic structures, a traditional design left over from our days of the early 1600s settlement. The two magnificent common spaces create a very long pedestrian sidewalk and environment. Wakefield must remain steeped in a tradition of preservation of its historic places, and the EDC needs to vocally support this theme as they ask the community to work together to plan for the futures of the vacant Unitarian Church, the post office when it moves, the empty Santander Bank currently, and other large vacant buildings in our downtown presently. Well-managed downtown designs have defined goals: maintain the architectural heritage and encourage the preservation of significant historic structures and continue their design in newer buildings and restoration projects. Manage growth in a way that complements the heritage while also welcoming innovation. Many downtowns have adopted themes, so to speak, but they have proved to be somewhat trendy and very static. Well-designed downtowns reflect a variety of styles, eras, and socioeconomic status, and that's what makes them interesting. We have to have some guiding principles for the ARPA funds when they're used by others for their own facade work. You have to require compatible architecture, design, and maintenance to our environment. Downtown buildings don't all have to look the same, but the good ones do have some elements in common, and the replication of those elements must be enforced. A color palette that is uniform and inviting is the easiest and most cost-effective place to start to see an improvement, and that's what Wakefield residents want to see immediately. I hope we have recessed door openings. I'm worried that when I see the colors that are starting to pop up down on some newer storefronts, colors that are found in kindergarten classrooms, those colors belong inside an establishment, not outside a building or very near our most historic town district. Materials should also add texture. Windows and doors should have a cornice above. You can't make something from nothing, so good design starts with what's already here. Celebrate by recreating the great design and facade colors of the BB Library, the Wakefield Savings Bank, and the newer farmland building. Any new architecture must seamlessly meld into the footprint of our historic buildings in both color and design. Create flower beds and please, please put in window boxes. It's difficult now to believe that the ACE building has been an economic driver for our community because over the past decade, there have been many months where the building is not open even 30 hours. Recently, there was a complaint made about the building that included the Wakefield Fire Department, the Wakefield Building Department, the Fire Department, and the State Fire Marshal's office. Issues are there's max capacity. I hear it's about 47 people. There's a lack of fire suppression, adequate egress. It continues to be a non-ADA compliant building and it needs an elevator, among other issues that have been known for decades. What is the projected time frame of the building so that it will be considered completely finished? The very slow progress and no project plans or details or designs to follow online have been frustrating. So I asked that the town webpage containing detailed design information for this building be created. That would be helpful. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Ms. Smith.
I have a Scott M.
Mr. McCauley?
Scott McCauley, 32 Walden Road. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. Extremely frustrating trying to log in this evening. Your new thing sends a confirmation to an email, which I was not able to log into under my computer initially. So very difficult to get into your meeting. Just thought I'd make you aware of that. So I'm speaking
That was
tonight.
not intentional, by the way.
Well, it's just very disenfranchising for people who want to get online to talk, that they have to go through multiple steps to join this meeting. So it's just frustrating. And so I wanted to talk, you're revoting on a $10,000 gift to the Chamber of Commerce. I've sent many emails about this. I don't know if you have a quorum tonight to be able to do that. I don't know if you have your full 9 people. For the members that aren't aware of this, 3 of the members voted to give the Chamber of Commerce $10,000 as what I'm calling as a gift. Those 3 of those members were also on the board of directors for the Chamber of Commerce, which is illegal, and it's a conflict of interest. So a vote needed to be retaken on that, and that's why that's coming up again this evening. It shouldn't be listed as a confirmatory vote because you're not confirmed. The fact that it was illegal wasn't addressed. It was just like, well, how can we vote for this again? Because the check's already been cut to the chamber. This whole thing is disgusting. These people should recuse themselves from this board. There's conflict of interest statements that of courses that were supposed to have been taken. Some of you took it, some of you didn't. For any of the new members who might be on the chamber this evening, you probably shouldn't be voting on this. There was no written documentation as to what this was going to be for when it was submitted. It was just a private conversation with Aaron and the head of the chamber. There was no contract written with the chamber to determine exactly what this money would be used for, how it would be used, when it would be used, who it would be used for. And if it wasn't used as it was, there was nothing in writing to say how the town could get that money back. But somehow a check was cut and given to them already. So I think the chamber should just give this check back to the town, and we should just walk away from this because it's ugly. The implications of this are really bad. The way that this took place. The chair for letting this happen and then to have it come back again, and for the 3 members that are on the board of chambers that voted for this, you should know better. I'm just putting this out there. It's really disgusting. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. McCauley. Is Mr. Pronounce his name properly?
Mr. DeSeca?
Yes.
Mr. DeSeca is on.
Would he like to speak?
I don't know.
Okay, so
Mr. DeSeca, do you want to speak? You did send in
would you like me
something.
to read the form?
Why don't you read it? He's not.
Okay, very good. Start. Oh. Apologies, give me a moment.
I have it. I printed it.
Okay, I thought that at the same time. So Mr. Vincent DeSeca at 37 Green Street has sent in a form. And I'm just going to read it. Since the late 1970s, there has been continuing talk about improving the business areas in Wakefield. To date, I've not heard any reason why businesses do not locate in Wakefield. Much speculation, but no root cause. Surveys of landlords or clients who have decided not to set up their businesses here would be a starter. Repeated requests for grants is not a solution, as evidenced by the state of downtown. The quality of the businesses that have located here could also be improved if we wish to, it says attach, I'm going to assume attract customers. We need concrete proposals based on facts now. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. DeSenza.
DeSeca.
Thank you. Okay. Back to the agenda. Councilor Dombrowski has had a family emergency, so he's not with us this evening. So we're going to move his agenda items to the next meeting. So that's item, my apologies. Item 3 is the meeting minutes for approval. We have the November 13th. Aaron sent the September 19th, but it hasn't gone out to folks. So also we'll move that one to the next meeting so we can give folks time to review that one. Did everyone have a chance to look over the November 13th meeting minutes?
Yes.
Yes. Any comments? Changes?
None.
Steve, the only thing I noticed is the heading. I think there must have been a repeat. So the headings all sort of repeat from the second section that is on there. If we could just clean that up.
I can endeavor to do that.
Okay. We always
Guys,
about
you
that.
guys are stuck with me while Erin is on maternity leave.
That would be the only thing I would say. I want to make a motion.
Make a motion.
Can you,
Rock camera.
you make the motion to approve
Approve the minutes.
minutes, okay?
Yep.
Okay, I'm ready. Would someone like to second?
Second.
Ms. Barrett, second. And then do we do all?
Roll call,
Yeah, I have to.
roll call because not everyone's.
Ann, can you yay or nay with your name, please?
Yay, Ann Hadley.
Thank you. Rocco, Julianne Orsino, yay. For a second.
Chris Martin, yay.
Yay.
Okay, just your name?
Ann Silva. Anya Walker, yay. Allie Houghton, yay.
Alicia Green, yay.
Great, thank you. All right, so we'll skip over. We're gonna move item number 4 to the next meeting. Ms. Mayreen, you would like to provide any town council update? Not even specific to that, just if you had a town council update.
Yeah, I mean, this is what Counselor Dombrowski knows better than I do, and I didn't connect with him this week, so it's envisioned, so we can do that next meeting. And also the Albion Arts Corridor, bring in Bill Renault to talk about.
More on that one, but we can probably move them both.
Yeah, is there anything additional from the town council for an update that you would?
There isn't. I think I just want to add that there was some public comment about the Albion Culture Exchange building, and that has fallen under the rec committee, the rec department. And so I think if people have questions, Dan McGrath is the right person to go to for that. Also Steve, but it's not really this committee that deals with that. That falls under the purview. We changed that
Correct, to the rec.
over a
Yep.
year ago to the rec committee. So I think if there's questions about that and about fire safety or anything, that should go through Dan McGrath or Steve.
Right, and the fire safety was looked at. The capacity of that building is, I believe it's 47 to 49, and there's a sign there, and maybe my eyes are old and the 7s and 9s start to look alike at my age, but under that capacity, that fire suppression system does not kick in, so it is fine. We have to work on the handicapped accessibility. I get it, we're working on that. We did have a $1 million grant application in for the elevator, which we did not get. We were told we were very close. I believe we did not get it because at that time, although no one will say this to me, it's my own personal opinion, so don't take this as gospel. We had not yet approved 48, the MBTA Communities Act. So you get marked now. So we will, we're relooking at all those things and we'll come back. But that's $1 million to put an elevator in that building for all 3 floors. You have the basement, you have the first floor, second floor. Much more expensive to put an elevator in an existing building than building new. So we're working on it.
It's on the priority list.
Yeah.
And then also, I wasn't here.
The rec
last-
meeting. That's all for the rec meeting.
Yeah. Well, we're working on it
Or
here. but-
town council, so we're the ones who asked for the grant application.
Yeah.
You know, we've been really focused on that building, and under Dan McGrath's leadership, they're doing some really great stuff there. Definitely tied to what you as a committee are doing. I've gone there on Friday and Saturday evenings, and there's lots of people, great artwork,
Right.
improv classes, if anyone wants to do improv.
Right.
So it is, you know, we're really excited to have that space as somewhere additional to
Right.
do stuff. And then I wasn't able to come to the meeting last month, but I just wanted to welcome the 2 new members, 2 new, 3 new? 2 new members. Welcome. Super excited. Thank you for volunteering. We really appreciate everyone who steps up to volunteer and be a part of something. And what this committee is doing is pretty impressive. We're really excited. So thank you.
Item number 5, economic development ARPA funds. So the first 5A is the Wakefield Linfield Chamber of Commerce Business Speaker Series confirmatory vote. So we're going to ask the folks on the council who are officers on the chamber to step out.
See you later.
Before you do, my apologies, before you do, could you just very quickly Just so folks understand what a Chamber of Commerce does.
Well, I mean, the Chamber of Commerce is, designed to kind of organize, inspire, and guide, the business community and, muster volunteer resources, professional members of the committee to, help the economic development of Wakefield. I mean, it's designed as a business driver and to muster the community and to help drive business for the betterment of the community.
Thank you.
Sure.
And are you an officer?
I'm on the board. I'm not an officer.
Yes, so I think on the board does disqualify you from this.
Yes. So do I have to
You
go
on the
out and,
board?
yeah,
Rocco?
No, Rocco is not on the board.
Board, okay.
no. Do I have to go
time.
out and
I would-
come back in?
Why
Is
don't you
that-
why don't you turn your camera off and mute,
Okay,
if you don't mind? Thank
all
you.
right. Yep. Hold on.
Great, thank
There
you.
you go.
Okay. Steve, do you happen to have the language from the last vote? So I can paraphrase. If folks remember, the last vote was, or the last conversation around this was, Erin had been, as she should in her role as Economic Development Director, she engages with the Director of the Chamber of Commerce. She should, and having discussions. There was a speaker series, so there was a $10,000 request outlay for the chamber for a very specific purpose. It was for a speaker series, which would help folks hear, understand more about business. And the council voted in favor of that. So we're here. Some of the members who voted are on the board of the Chamber of Commerce. So they should recuse themselves. So we're here to take up that vote again and decide if we should vote to provide the Chamber of Commerce $10,000 for a speaker series.
When was that original vote taken?
When? A while ago. August? September?
And it was like,
Yeah.
It's actually June 26th, the first, June 26th.
nice.
Thank you.
And did the Economic Development Council receive the proposal from the Chamber of Commerce?
We did not, so we don't really receive proposals, working through Erin. So Erin's the Economic Development Director, and so she's very much the implementer of initiatives. So this was an initiative that she did bring to the council and talked a bit about what her thoughts were and why she thought this was a good idea.
And was the reason why it has to be voted on here is because it's ARPA funds?
It's ARPA funds, but the board members of the chamber can't vote on any financial thing coming into the chamber.
So we need to take a revote.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? You good, Tanya? Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Ali?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Good.
Someone would like to, you have anything to add? Maybe?
No, I think just what Annie said is, you started a little later, but like the committee has $1 million of ARPA funds, and the hope of the town council and Steve was the committee would help Erin in figuring out how best to use that. The 10,000 out of $1 million is a small portion, and we've done such great work with the chamber. I think there's been great collaboration, great partnership, and on the committee, outside of the committee with town council. So yeah, that's the reason that it's coming through this town council, just to help Erin figure out where to spend that money in the best way possible and not coming to us, because we kind of gave the $1 million to the committee to figure out how to spend.
I know like those chamber events are well attended, especially when they do have, I know that they routinely have, are able to have special speakers. So I can see that having a business speaker series that's sort of run by the chamber. They're very good at marketing those, different initiatives. So I think that I can see how that would be beneficial to them.
And if I remember the conversation, I think it's an excellent tool to inform, and educate, strengthen business ties. So, it sounded really good to me then and it still does.
I'm wondering if we could just confirm with the chamber that this series, I know sometimes they have things that are available to non-members, like at different, different sort of levels of participation. So it would be great if this series were available to non-chamber members, even if it meant, different requirements.
So to record it, so to speak, and then be able to send it out.
Yeah, something like that would be great. Yeah.
Let them attend. I don't think John Smolinski, who's the executive director, would have any issue with it.
Yeah.
He's all about bringing it in.
He's been great about making sure that things are accessible in the past, so to non-members as well.
That could prove useful as well when it comes to having more people attend and
Yeah,
see how things work there. And
right. It gets them excited.
Exactly.
I actually, Steve, I know you're taking over for a little bit, but that's actually a really great suggestion is if we're partnering, could there also, making it up into all Wakefield businesses, but is there a discount maybe? Like I know, because he does do member, non-member prices, because I'm not a member, but I go to a lot of events. But could we almost do like a Wakefield rate, right? For, like we're subsidizing it for Wakefield businesses because we want them to go. I think he would be open to it, but maybe explicitly, because
Absolutely.
it
he would
is,
be.
it is the Wakefield
I'll-
Linfield Chamber, right?
I'll speak for John, yes.
Good. Ali, any,
Sounds like a good idea, too. Yeah.
would someone like to make a motion
Making motion
to,
to approve the aforementioned Chamber of Commerce outlay of $10,000 to support the speaker series.
I'll second that.
Annie has second. Rocco made the motion. Annie seconded.
You do not need a roll call vote because everyone is here.
Perfect. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous.
Unanimous.
You ask them to come in. Thank you.
How do we get Ann back?
Ann just needs to put her camera back on and she can come back in and she'll be all set. There she is.
To come back? I to get them, right? You just-
Yeah.
And you took your Snuggie off.
I did.
Warm day.
It is a warm
Albeit Very
day.
rainy.
Yeah. Amber was saying she had to turn the AC on in her business.
The shop, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, the next agenda item is discussion around, so we have, I think you told me the number, Steve, is left is 155.
Yeah, roughly. in that bucket.
So the facade program has been so successful that it's actually gone over a little bit of the 500,000 that was allocated to it. And then we have about 155,000 left. So I wanted to open up a discussion if we should allocate that for a second round into 2025.
So just to clarify, the facade had $500,000 from ARPA funds, or was it 400 plus the 100,000?
4 plus 100.
4 plus 100. So 400 ARPA and then 100 from state. And so out of the $1 million in ARPA funds that we have, there's 155,000 remaining.
Correct. So there's 150, we've broken out into buckets.
Yep.
150 for municipal marketing, PR campaign, 100 for creative arts and cultural events.
Okay.
60 went to the digital marketing program, which also very successful.
Yeah.
And then 100,000 for pop-up. And those numbers, some of those numbers might fluctuate.
Yeah.
Is there a deadline to spend the funds?
To spend them is December 2026.
They just need to be
They
allocated
need to be spent by then.
by that, but
So
But
the
They don't even need to be
Sure.
allocated this year. The town council has already allocated
okay.
or has created a subaward of $1 million to the EDC.
Nice. Okay, good. Yeah.
And if we do this, then we've kind of we've completed the action item that the town council gave us to come,
Tax us to do.
Right.
Right.
which would be nice.
Originally, there were some concerns that the money had to be actually spent by the end of this year, but that got looked at and we came up with has to be spent by the end of 26.
They pushed it, the federal government pushed it back.
Okay.
So folks, have any thought about maybe allocating the remainder to the facade program?
But I've seen a lot of programs in town happen
Mm-hmm.
over the years, and I actually don't recall anything that had this much of a response
Mm-hmm.
and is going to improve this much of how Wakefield looks. And I can't, at this point, think of anything better than refunding or allocating some more funds to the sign and facade program. Facade and sign program.
How much are we oversubscribed at the moment?
25?
Yeah, it's in the range of $25,000.
But that's probably gonna
Yeah.
come down.
But not all of those requests have been granted,
Fully funded.
fully funded or granted in some cases.
So Erin's still working with some of
Yeah.
the business owners, because what she's communicated is that she thinks maybe they're a little bit too high, or she wants them to come back with different bids. So that may adjust down.
My guess is it will adjust down some because there's.
Someone asked to have his roof done too, and that's not going to happen.
Right.
Some of those requests, so while we may be advocating 155,000, it may sneak its way back up to 200. And I think we can do some nice work with that, with another round.
You can always move within those buckets that you've already allocated.
So two-part question. Does there seem to be enough demand? And if we allocate a specific amount of funds and not enough people apply for it, can we then take those funds and still use them elsewhere?
Yes.
And let me ask this differently. Does anyone have a new idea for how they would like to allocate the funds?
We don't have ones now.
Not off the top of my head. Think about it. Oh.
I'll just wait.
The only thing that comes to mind for me is just like a contingency amount, should the other buckets need like a little bit more funding. But other than that, no.
I would do a contingency, because I think we have to. How would you suggest a contingency? How would we?
Like if we looked at the marketing assessment and said it costs this much, but we're gonna budget for an extra 15%, overage, just in case, something like that.
Well, I think, we've got time to spend it, and I think as some of these programs get solidified and we get harder numbers on what it's gonna cost to do things, and we can revisit that too.
So the way you make the motion, you could potentially make the motion with that language.
I don't know if I want to make a motion. I was throwing it out.
No, the motion can be made with that language, that allocate the remaining funds
To like a reserve account.
with,
or-
Oh, I see.
with an understanding that if there's a requirement or what do you call it, contingency? Yeah, I got a requirement to support the other programs. How's that?
Right.
It's an interesting thought.
Chris is saying that we don't really know what our final numbers are anyway, so if there's a lot of, not a lot, but if a good amount of tweaking is gonna come later, then maybe that's redundant. So
Are we allowed to use that money, sort of something I was talking about last week, as like a way to subsidize new businesses coming in and help with their build out and attract new businesses that way?
Talked about this.
Well, and I think one of the examples was there were businesses in town that needed some improvements and or some possibility of expanding or leaving. And I think if there was a way to help someone grow a little bit and not look for new space in Melrose, that might be a viable way to spend the money.
And I recall Councilor Dombrowski making the point that I think the town council was really looking to have something very visual to improve the look and feel of downtown. So the thinking was if it's inside, maybe that would be less of a look and feel for the whole town. That was some of the discussion on.
But to that same end, an occupied building is better than an empty one from the visual. And I certainly could make the argument to use some money towards that, but I don't think anyone has yet approached us to say, hey, look, I just can't live in this space anymore. I gotta move, or I have to do X, Y, and Z. You think you could help me with that so I can stay here?
That could be part of the marketing program too,
Yeah,
Yeah.
to let people know that that's even an option.
yeah.
I don't think
But
anyone would.
I don't think we've had a request like that yet.
Not that I've seen.
But again, it hasn't been marketed that way either.
And then, as I'm just remembering the conversation around this. And then I think the concern, I think Aaron expressed the concern that where do you draw the line, right? So if it's expanding versus somebody needs an HVAC. Right? So then where do you draw the line? And then that's a lot to manage, if I'm recalling correctly.
When I've worked with other grant programs through like Mass Growth Capital Corporation, which is like a corporation that has state allocated funds and then allocates them to small businesses, they had pretty like specific language on how you could use those funds if you're a business applying. But one of the really helpful things for the businesses that I worked with in the business district in East Somerville was capital expenses. So these are things that are not associated with payroll, they're not associated with utilities, they're not associated with anything like that, but it does go towards new equipment, repaired equipment. It can go towards like, HVAC, it can go towards like if you're a retail store, new shelving, new display cases. And when I think about businesses who either have gone through the COVID pandemic and come out of it, or are a new business, within the last like 6 to 12 months in Wakefield, I think that there's multiple examples of businesses who have had barriers or have had more funds spent on their business because of capital expenses that were unexpected. And I can see how allocating some grant funds for businesses to then kind of repair or renew those capital expense costs, it helps generate more income, which then hopefully creates more stability in the business district. And I think what Tanya said, marketing that to businesses is a great way. And I think supporting the new businesses that are here, because you know, there have been some new businesses on the Main Street district and in the business district, as well as businesses that have relocated. So to kind of continue to support their endeavors would be cool.
I'd be inclined to think that there's a way to work with that, you know, maybe not shelving or displays, but I think there's certainly an economic driver for keeping people here and keeping them viable.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, my thought towards the sign facade and grant program is there, because I think the deadline was like earlier this year, so there are businesses that have opened since then. So if we did fund another round, we could always sort of prioritize or scale the application so that newer businesses have a chance to receive those funds.
So that's the thought of adding a second round, is because there was a cutoff. And it's been so successful that folks who didn't get an opportunity would now have an opportunity. If you don't make the number big enough, then it's not going to help with the sign and facade side of things. We talked about this quite a bit, and where we ended, I don't want to, because other folks aren't here. We ended up on the other side of it, that the thought was, where do you draw the line with helping internally, and then it's not a visual, it's not necessarily helping the town, was more of the thinking. Where improving the facade of the buildings, it makes Wakefield look better.
I just want to push back on that though, because I can see how and I think it's beneficial that the facade and grant and sign and facade program benefits the town. But I think as business owners, sometimes then you're supporting the landlord, you know, you're helping increase their property value, which is great for the long term. But if you're also a business trying to stay there long term, you know, there's some other opportunities that could, you know, be beneficial.
Yeah, keeping businesses here is something we need to look at. We swirled around that whole conversation previously, and I would certainly not put it to bed. I think it's important that if you're looking at economic development, keeping your current clients, for lack of a better phrase, is important and viable. I think that's a legitimate conversation. I'm not sure how much detail you would get into what internal improvements would be, but you know, someone looking to leave, if they can't handle this space and go somewhere else, I'd much rather have a business than an empty building.
That delineation that you mentioned of CapEx versus like salary overhead or other, like I like that delineation.
I could definitely re-bring up like the exact categories that they allowed, because it was very specific, because it was state funding, so they had to be very specific.
It was Larry Andrews, right? Yeah.
He's great.
Absolutely fabulous. I'd love to see those.
Yeah,
No,
I'll make.
Very helpful.
Yeah.
I agree. Agree with Chris said about having a business in empty buildings better than an empty building. Should support that.
Dan, do you have anything you want to add?
I think that business retention is very important for us. And I do agree with what Chris said about, you know, having a business still there and not having to move because of something that they couldn't afford. So I would agree with the business retention.
You know, when you go through a community, you go through a main street and you see every other building is empty, it just brings everything down. And people just have that, oh, God, you know, what's going on here? You know, so the less of that, I think is valuable to this town.
What if the delineation is CapEx, but necessary CapEx for the type of business it is? So like a new pizza oven for a pizzeria versus some type of installation that has nothing to do with how they operate.
So and I'm playing devil's advocate now because we talked about this quite a bit and we ended up on the other side. So I don't want to just go, okay, so we're going to disregard all of those conversations. How does that grow your business?
Well, if I have a pizzeria and my pizza oven is, you know, on its last leg, I don't know if that happens, but as an example, and I can't afford to rent a new one or buy a new one, so I'm going to close my business, and there's these funds that can help me stay afloat.
So what would be the amount of, what would be the number, like approximately? So what we did with so it would be like 50%, thinking the same things. So pizza oven costs, whatever, costs 20 grand.
Right, same thing as yeah, could be.
The cap. So I know it sounds like we have a lot of money left,
Right.
but it's not really a ton of. So doing a second round on the facade, to me, again, because we to me makes more sense. I understand, I absolutely, and I of course agree. We don't want empty storefronts, of course. But if we're gonna do a second round of facade with there's so much traffic on that. There was so much, people
Right.
really jumped in. And if you make that next bucket too small, then we're not really having a second round, is my thought.
Could we take the current applications that we have and sort of average, not today necessarily, but average what the cost is per application?
So Erin did an amazing job of putting together a spreadsheet.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
You know, so I think the average thing doesn't do a lot because, you know, some of the people needed $3,000, $5,000, $6,000.
It depends on the building, right?
And there were buildings that were looking and doing, you know, $200,000 improvements.
Got it.
So I think, you know, maybe it's immediate
Okay.
and not an average. But, you know, we had, you know, long conversations about all of that. And I think the interior kind of renovations or assistance was really too difficult to pin down exactly where you draw the line with what you should do. Geez, my floor looks really bad. I really want a new floor. Is that gonna change the amount of, so there was just, you know, we talked it through quite a bit and had a lot of conversations about it and ended up with what we did.
But if you want to make a motion,
My other kind of idea that I wanted to bounce around is I'm curious about the arts and events allocation. Do we have more specifics on what that looked like?
so what we're trying to do is get all the funds bucketed by the end of this year. So we bucketed, it's 100,000. And we specifically call it, what do we call it? Creative arts and cultural events to kind of do the whole piece where instead of someone going to the businesses and getting businesses to kind of buy into an event, maybe we could have, and they come, they say, we've got the support of these 5 businesses, of the town administrator, we want to hold this event, and then we can allocate, what do we say, like 5 grand? Yeah. And also for the creative arts, we had talked about temporary arts installations, visual things outside again, and things to really kind of make this experiential. Because the one thing that I'm sure you know, when you make it experiential, people come, and then people get coffee, they go to dinner, they go to lunch. And that piece since COVID seems to have maybe dropped off a little bit here in Wakefield, and want to try and bring it back.
So these are events or like cultural, arts and culture events that are not specific to the businesses, but rather the business district of Wakefield.
And the community.
Okay,
Creating a draw
yeah,
to Wakefield
yeah,
and exposing opportunities to dine or drink or do whatever you would like while you're here from potentially someone who doesn't participate in their community nor pops downtown or pops to the Greenwood Business District.
yeah.
And, you know, you create something, you get people's eyes open to some of the things that are, you know, in their lap that they don't understand that are there.
Are there examples of other communities that have similar programs?
Most communities.
Oh.
Like I think Burlington, Aaron kept mentioning Burlington does a great job.
Okay.
Melrose does it.
Melrose has like a Victorian fair.
Yes, I have been to that.
Reading has a street fair.
Okay, got it, okay.
Yeah, let me
All
do
right.
that.
And not to say we don't already do it, because we do. Like this weekend was an art exhibit, right? So the ACE building, if we kind of think about the ACE building, just kind of hoping to talk about the Albion corridor with the ACE building as the hub, right? Folks go to the art exhibit, then maybe they go and go to one of the restaurants or get boba across the street or something. Did you go this weekend?
That was nice.
Yeah. But the ACE building, when they have those, it's quite a draw. And then the thing you were telling us about pickleball.
Pickleball. So yeah, pickleball is my favorite story. Steve and I have played pickleball. So pickleball,
Yeah, video.
fastest growing sport in America.
Mhm.
And it's at the
Civic Center.
Civic Center, sorry.
Indoor.
And so they were playing it indoor at the Civic Center, and they were, the participants were hounding Steve for years. And then when I joined the board, me as well, of like, we need outdoor pickle courts. And then we were like, whatever. And Steve and I went and we played with them. And they, when it was indoors at the Civic Center, Tuesday and Thursday nights, 6 to 9 PM, over 100 people come to our town. The majority go to the restaurants before and after. I was like talking to this one guy, he's like, I live in Billerica. I'm like, you come down here every Friday night to play pickleball? He's like, yes. And then I go to Harrington's and I have dinner every Friday night. I come from Billerica. I'm like, wow, no idea. Like, had no idea that was happening.
Yeah.
Now we have those outdoor courts that we built.
Mhm.
People from all over come to play here, right? So I think like that's a regular event. That's not an event. I would argue that we do cultural events, right? We have Plaza Jazz in
Every
the
Thursday.
summer, every
Every Thursday.
Thursday. We've started doing Town Day, like now,
Yep.
3 years that
years,
we've
yep.
done at the lake. I think we have events, right? And it's just kind of coordinating those and maybe this coming up with some new ideas. The example that we were talking about is if you go up to Newburyport, they have like the fishes, like the art sculptures that are fishes. You know, Boston had done the cows years ago and then they auctioned them off. I'd gone to, where was I, I went to the Cape and they had fish
Chatham.
at Chatham.
Yep.
And yep, and they auctioned them off. And so we were thinking something like that, you know, of something that, whether it's a one-time thing or regularly people kind of come and it connects to stuff. So I don't think we've narrowed down at anything. And like Erin is really good about showing us examples that other folks do.
Did, what was the thing that happened?
And just one other thing, like we had the music festival, like that was done by volunteers without like town support.
That's what I was
but not-
really about to say.
Right. And so is that something that this group, like, it was really successful, right? And it was all volunteer run and obviously the town chips in safety wise and permit wise and all of that. But is that something that we say we want to continue that and bring people?
That was part of this grant for the funds, the Porch Fest?
It wasn't.
Oh, okay.
No, it was all done on volunteer.
Amazing.
So we haven't put out for that. We haven't put out a grant proposal yet, right?
No, right. So my hope my hope is that we bucket the funds and then as a council, we start having those conversations about how do we want this to look? Right? How does it get implemented? Who should really drive it? But this past 8-9 months that we've been meeting has really been focused on how do we want to allocate? And Aaron's done an amazing job of bringing stuff to us and ideas to us. And we've really broken it down. So we're really at my view, we're really at the last 150, which I know sounds like a ton of money. And
I
looking,
think we should appreciate it is. I know it's not a lot of money, but it's still money that can change things.
agreed. And looking at how successful the facade program is, it seems to really make sense to do a second round.
I'm curious about sort of moving forward with a second round of the sign and facade program. And would there be a small opportunity to allocate? I don't think you need more than $10,000 to then create a outside of this arts and culture allocation to create an event that is specific to the businesses. A few businesses have brought up a taste of Wakefield.
Yes.
We could use funds to give participating businesses a stipend so that they can prepare food samples. We could do a Greenwood Business District Day. We could do a Main Street Business, Albion Street Business District Day. There's some great restaurants on Vernon Street as well and all the cross streets. I think if there are a way to brainstorm the opportunity to engage the businesses, that would create a lot of camaraderie within the business
I
district.
think that money would come out of the previous conversation.
Do you think so?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the whole point of that, that bucket.
Cool.
Absolutely, that's where that money should go.
I've heard people talk about Taste of Wakefield. I've heard people talk about a holiday stroll. I've heard people talk about Halloween.
So, because I'm looking at the clock, it's 10:07 and I think we're all I'm not even not all a little concerned about the wind. Just a suggestion is if, I know you guys are super, super busy, but maybe if you could review some of the previous meetings, it would help sort of give you some background of what we were thinking when we made some of these decisions. And then also help sort of spur on ideas. Because what you're saying is exactly, I think, what we're all.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah.
Can I just point out a couple of things? And great conversation. I'm thrilled to be listening to. There's $100,000 in Project Pop-Up.
Yes.
Okay, that RFP has gone out. You're gonna get that back at the end of January. So there may.
Jumping agenda.
Okay, no, I'm saying, okay. I'm saying part of this discussion, there may be money in other areas that can be resolved.
Yes.
I don't know. Just take notes, Steve. Okay.
Does someone want to make a motion? Like, because you can make a motion if you want some of it to go to something different. I just, before Aaron went out, we had chatted that we were at the town meeting, sitting next to each other.
I would like us to just kind of have maybe next meeting, a little further discussion on what we could do for retention.
We don't have to make a decision today.
No.
And if maybe there is some money that could go to retention in some way, what could we use that money for as far as retention? But I think maybe another discussion on that.
I agree with that.
Retention as in putting money inside the building?
I think we just need to look at putting together a business retention fund.
Well, why don't we do it? Right? So what's standing in the way of us actually just doing it?
I would suggest that the agenda item says second round of facade funding discussion.
Okay.
Doesn't say anything about business.
Okay.
So I would like to just say.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would like to say.
Why don't you make a motion to make that an agenda item?
That
Like
agenda,
you making that an agenda item at the next meeting and with a possible vote, we could do that.
because this was just a discussion to
Mhm.
begin with,
Okay.
this agenda item.
Steve, can I-
That grew out of the facade and sign
Mhm.
discussion. So I think it's worthy of being an agenda item in the future.
I'd love to see the list of what is funded from the state and then what is excluded. And,
Oh, yeah,
like,
yeah,
so,
yeah.
and
I
so
could- I
like,
could do
and
that.
like using, like, the pizza oven makes sense to me. But the other thing that I think you and I had talked about was you get a new place and the AC dies, right? And that is like, you know, not making pizzas, but AC is really important for a lot of businesses. And I wonder if there's an opportunity, Steve, and this might wait till Erin comes back, but there's so much money in climate resiliency. And that is AC, better window panes, you know, solar panels on, you know, the roof or whatever. And I just wonder if there's opportunities that we can think about helping our businesses, right? Not totally tied to what you're saying, but just, I think that's another angle of like, when we look for grants and opportunities of just being mindful that there's going to be opportunities there because it's getting hotter and we all need to prepare somehow.
Yeah. Smart energy, I think is a term.
Yeah. Smart. Yeah.
And I think to also comment that, you know, like it has been brought up that these buildings are historic and old. And so a lot of times investment in those different areas for the business, it's usually the responsibility of the business owner, not the landlord. It's harder because the buildings are older, right? Like the elevator. Thanks, Mary.
So no vote? No one wants to make a motion? I want to make sure.
Do we want to make that an agenda item, somebody? Or do we need to just have a conversation and make an agenda item next meeting?
To vote on it?
Continue the conversation about,
So that's separate. So the internal, I would like folks to go back and look at the meeting
yeah.
because I think
No,
we're
'cause it
rehashing.
was really difficult to kind of pin down
Sounds
where and
like
what
it,
and how.
yeah. It's a big decision to me.
It's hard to draw lines.
Yeah,
as to
totally.
What we can, should.
So we're going to move the second also, so the internal retention, and then we're going to move this, we're going to second round of facade funding next meeting.
Yep.
Okay, great.
Ian, was that? No.
We don't have to vote on that, right?
No.
Number 6, Mr. Mayo.
My God, I had it in front of me. So anyways, I'm pitch hitting for Erin, as I said, badly. So
Wonderful job.
Erin did send out a memo in the packet regarding some of the programs that have been going on. And facade and sign program has been really, I've been here for 17 years. This has been the most exciting and expansive program I've seen all up and down. And I'm very excited to see the items happen. Business award letters have gone out. Some of them come back signed, some of them haven't. Most of them have. We're also working with some that maybe are asking for, I think was talking about maybe a little bit too much. This is not a roof program, particularly for maybe business owners that don't deserve to have their roof done because of their neglect. So we'll, this is just me talking from experience here. So we'll work with them on that, what we can do there. But it's been very successful, and a few of them we still need to go business to business, and I'll take on some of that with some of them over because I know some of the business owners. You are definitely right. The land.
You hit something. Can you hit something so it doesn't turn off?
Oh.
Press a button to keep it on.
Talk fast. Don't you keep going. Okay, further than that. We will keep going quick. So that's been very, and over close to $1 million in requests have come in, which is really amazing, and, we'll work on the others. The digital marketing program I'll work on and then take questions at the end to the extent I can answer them. There were 4 sessions given. I understand they were very well attended, and that's another area that people can apply up to $3,000 in grant funds to support digital marketing activities, and hopefully that'll help around 16 businesses in the downtown or in the town. On the marketing assessment and marketing PR campaign, we will be putting RFP for this. We've been trying to even touch base with the previous company that did it. I'm not so sure they're still in business, but they did a pretty good job. I don't want to pay someone to reinvent that whole wheel. We can,
just to give Dr. Speed, that actually was what the vote was, because I think we looked and they were still in business. And the vote was to reach out to them.
we're having trouble getting in touch with them, so I'll follow up with that. I mentioned the pop-up RFP. That has been out. You may have seen it advertised. The RFP closes on January 24th. So we'll be looking forward to getting those in. I did actually receive one questioning on it, so.
Back, good.
And Maureen did a good job, the technical assistant. And I think that's pretty much it. So things seem to be moving along quite well with, particularly with that sign and facade program. Just been incredible.
Thank you.
And you have your parents' memos.
So Councilor Dombrowski had wanted to review the Economic Development Council goals and missions. We'll move that to the next meeting when he's here. Any announcements from anyone? No, Ann?
Nope, what's that?
No, any items that we haven't anticipated?
No.
No. Someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Oh, sorry. Wait, we
Sorry.
got to do the next meeting before we adjourn. I should put that down. Does Wednesdays, you folks are new, does Wednesdays work for you? This time works for you? No. And still works for you this time? Yeah.
Yep, works fine.
The second Wednesday. Third Wednesday, second Wednesday.
It's a second.
If I may, Madam Chair, it may
Yes.
make sense to wait until after we get the RFPs in on the 24th of January for the pop-up program, because part of the discussion is reallocation of funds, and, maybe that high bid is 75, and then you'll free up some more money there. Just a suggestion.
That's a great suggestion. Can folks do the 29th of January?
Wednesday too, right?
Yeah, correct. It's the next Wednesday.
Sure.
Lunar New Year. If that
Good.
thing to anybody.
I can do that, sure.
Yes? And yes. Yep. And does that work?
Yep, that's fine.
All right. So January 29th at 6.
December 29th?
Um,
I'm sorry, January 29th. Yep.
Great.
Okay.
I just want to wish everyone happy holidays if you celebrate.
Yeah.
What you celebrate. Did you,
Yeah.
did you want to you're making a motion?
Motion to adjourn?
Second by Ally. Ann?
Yep. So
Yep. Do we need to do? I never know. Roll call?
On a motion to adjourn, I say you don't.
Excellent.
Because if everyone leaves, it just adjourns. So it doesn't.
Funny.
The TV just shuts itself off.
Right.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, Ann.
happy holidays, everyone.